Welcome back, fellow hunters, to another journal where I'm in the endgame. You know what tastes great? The blood of a raging Brachydios. Cheers.
Pidgey hunts.
Alright, so last week, I might have left on a little bit of a depressing note. I entered endgame, I was like, oh my god, everything hurts, how am I going to do this? But here we are a week later, and I'm happy to report 4 monsters have been crossed off the list. I was not expecting to be that productive, yet here we are. So welcome back to another, what do I call these? Monster Hunter Journals, where I document my entire hunt and playthrough of Monster Hunter World, as well as Monster Hunter Rise in another journal series. We are in the end game, which means I am now trying to hunt the last remaining monsters on my list. I don't have a list anywhere, but there's a handful left. And this week, I've got Cool Teroth knocked out, soloed Lunastra, Safi is gone, and the raging Brachydios has fallen. Now I have to say, as we get into endgame, over the last 4 or 5 months, I have been able to put out a Monster Hunter World journal every single week because I have been experiencing something new, and there have been updates to share with all of you every single week as I've been playing this game for 150 hours now. I'm realizing as I'm going to need to grind more, specifically grinding up my master rank and my weapons, I might have less to share, and so these journals might start dropping a little bit less frequently, only when I have major updates. But don't worry, this week we got a lot of updates. So let's start with my greatest victory. I'm so happy and proud about this. I did do a multiplayer stream, which we're going to talk about in a moment, which did get me, I think, some better parts. I did grind out. I got a new Brachydios switch axe from my multiplayer stream. I think I leveled up my armor just with spheres, if I recall correctly. But Thursday, the progress stream, I started feeling great. I had good energy. The chat was pumping with some good energy. We had like the hype train. Everyone's like, oh my god, you can do stuff. And I always like to warm up on a monster before I go into progression. And I just felt so great. I was like, why warm up? Let's go warm up on a raging Brachydios, which, as you recall last week, I was like, oh my god, how am I going to kill this? So I went in just with, remember last week I was saying, oh, I lost my soul. I have no, like, you need the soul to win. I had the soul this time. I also had some wine. Maybe that worked. And I went into raging Brachydios, and I'm just like, okay, let's study this thing. How does it move? It punches, it jumps. Now I know that, oh, it gets a little mad, it gets a little bit slimier. Avoid the slime. We also went in with blast resist skills, which really helped. And I was like, all right, I can manage this. I can see what's going on. Another thing is, ever since I discovered the sword mode of switch axe, I went a little bit too much. You know, I was really heavy on the axe side, and then I was like, oh, what is this cool sword thing? But when you play the switch axe, you got to play it right here. You got to love the axe, and you got to love the sword. You can't just say axe is gross or sword is gross. You got to use both. And one of my problems is I've been relying way too much on sword mode because I'm like, this is where all the DPS is, me being the little new meta hunter that I am. But you know what? The axe is quick and it breaks things. And specifically, when I can get in under Brachydios and smack some slime off of him with my axe, that is good. When I can jump off a cliff with my axe and mount him and do some little stabby stab, that is good. So I've been trying to play a little bit more with, you know what, instead of getting a few swooshes of the sword in, let's get a few swooshes of the axe, just to shuffle things around. And you know what? I knocked him over a few times, which gave me even more openings. So still learning, not that I thought I wouldn't learn anymore. And so finally I made a progress, and I totally was not expecting to win, but I'm just like, I'm going to bring my A game. I'm going to give it my best, and it's okay if I lose. And so I'm progressing, and I got carted twice. And after the second cart, I think it's when it was already in the hot zone and was about to go to its final stage. So everyone's like, quick, drink the beer, because I forgot to drink the beer to give me my feline insurance. I'm like, all right, let's do the beer. And I went into the cave, and oh my god, was I scared. He just went like, and there was slime everywhere. And then the chorus kicked in, and I was like, I swear there was the chorus in the fight before, but it's a lot more obvious now. So I think what threw me off is I looked at the trailer when they introduced raging Brachydios in the game, and that one had the chorus. But now I felt, I'm like, oh my god, they just changed the song and there are vocals now. Holy shit, this is going to be scary. And the whole like land is just covered in slime, and I'm just like, and he's just like slime. I'm just punching everywhere. I was like, how am I going to deal with this? There's slime everywhere. And then I realized, oh, even if I'm walking on the slime a little bit, I'm safe. So I was like, all right, we can deal with this. But oh my God, I was scared. I was stressed, felt good. And I just kept like being careful, looking for my openings, not trying to be too aggressive because that gets the best of me. And the next thing I knew, boom, Raging Brachydios fell, my first real like proper victory in a week. And I just like all the endorphins just get in there. And it reminded me of why I play this game. It was just so good. And we have to remember when we hit these crazy walls, the payoff afterwards, the pain that you go through to get that endorphin rush after, that's why we do it. And that was a good reminder. So Raging, or whatever your name is, you're next. I need some endorphin hit. And then Alatreon, I know you're still, oh my God, you still scare me. You're a big wall. But we're going to get over you too, and we're going to get an even bigger endorphin hit. All right, let's talk about the grind. Pretty much everyone else. Yeah, so over the multiplayer, we went and did Master Rank Kulftaroth as a group, and we died a lot. Like, as a group, we failed 2 or 3 times. And finally, one group, sorry guys, I forget who was in the final squad. We went in and we killed Kulftaroth. The fight really threw me off. Like, I was responsible for a few faints. The first time I discovered there's lava from the ceiling and stuff. It's a pretty cool fight. Like, I saw most of it when I did it in high rank. It was just a lot hard. It hit a lot harder and we fainted a lot more easier in master rank. But we finally made it through. We killed it. It's another one off my list. Its armor set's all right. I'm probably not going to use it. I'm probably not going to fight it again either because I didn't love it or anything. It didn't stand out. It was just on my list. And through my warm-ups, I didn't realize some people have been calling me out for not having beat Lunastra by myself, which is true. When I was high rank, before I got Iceborne, I killed Lunastra with a group because I was like, this is too hard. I'm not doing it. And I realized as I was hunting monsters last week, I killed Teostra and Lunastra in the level together by myself. They were high rank. I was in master rank gear. So some might say that's not really valid, but it meets the criteria of my pledge. Therefore, I will allow it. So Lunastra has been killed. The other stuff that we did over the weekend included, this is why I was hunting high rank arc-tempered monsters, was so that I could finally unlock the Rocksteady Mantle. I've been hearing about the Rocksteady Mantle for so many weeks now. I was like, why don't I have this thing? Turns out you need to hunt a certain amount of arc-tempered high rank monsters, which I hadn't done. So we did that. We got the Rocksteady Mantle. To this day, I have yet to use it because people are like, you use that, you're going to die. I read what it does. I was like, oh, this looks so good. But it's also very risky for my playstyle. So maybe I'm not going to use it after all. Grinded out the Burial Switch Axe with people. Grinded out the Raging Brachydios chest piece. So now I got a little bit more defense in my chest piece. I got weakness exploit. I optimized a little bit of my skills because the chest piece I had before the Kieran one, I think it had a critical one, but because I have the pendant that had so many critical points, removing that chest piece didn't affect it. So it just let me slot in more skills. So we're on our way to getting better and better. So I have a new chess piece now. And I grinded my way up to master rank 60. And what else did we talk about? Safi. Safi was the big kind of eye-opener of a whole new world of mechanics for this week. And I'm just like, once again, Monster Hunter just throwing a whole new mechanic set. I'm just like, what is this? So the Safi fight went down pretty smoothly. We went in with a team of 16, and we went in, we did one run where we got rid of all of the energy it draws from the ground, and then we went in again and we killed it. I have to say, these multiplayer runs, I didn't feel particularly scared. Honestly, the biggest threat to me in this hunt was my mod mini guy lad, who was constantly chasing me, trying to shoot me up in the air, including when Safi does the supernova blast and you have to hide behind a rock. If I was there with mini guy, he was trying to launch me up in the air. I launched him in the air. None of us died, but that would have been a very terrible trolly way to die, by getting launched by your friend into the air and then getting supernovaed out of that. He would have probably lost his mod privileges for that. So Safi was not terrifying or hard. It just felt grindy, and when I play, I think I get more out of doing monsters one-on-one. This fight felt a little bit like we were, 4 against 1. Just doesn't feel as satisfying as one-on-one. Now, I heard you can solo Safi, but I heard it takes an extremely long time, and I have very little appetite for that. Like, if this boss was actually designed for multiplayer, I'm not going to solo it just for the sake of soloing it if it's just long and grindy and not designed for that. But what I was actually, what piqued my interest and what I thought was interesting was the whole weapon mechanic of Safi. So when you beat it, you get access to like a whole bunch of random weapons, which you get to pick 3. So I picked 3 switch axe. And then there's this whole like awaken abilities, which, long story short, the way I understand it is you can basically customize whatever weapon you want. And I've been hearing a lot of people saying the Safi weapons are the best for elemental. So now I'm like, oh, this is so cool. So you want to grind Safi to get the parts to build your super ultimate custom axe. Now, I'm not the type of player who's going to play Monster Hunter for a year on end grinding Safi to find out what the best build switch axe is. So I'm going to have to look up a guide of what is the best Safi switch axe and is it better than these other ones I crafted? Otherwise, I don't want to just invest so many hours just to find out that my Brachydios switch axe is better than all the Safi switch axes. But still, that mechanic is really cool for endgame. And I'm looking at these endgame mechanics, and I'm gonna do a little knock and prod on Rise. I don't think Rise has anything like that yet. And yes, I know Rise is not done. I know there's tons of content coming, and I know the 2 games are not like at the same completion level. So I'm just gonna say, I hope in Monster Hunter Rise we're gonna get these grinding mechanics, because as someone who's coming in at the end of the World Iceborne content cycle when everything has been dumped and I'm just trying to like gun it to Fatalis and get the best gear there, all these other things I'm like, oh, these are cool, but like it's not worth me playing and grinding this out because I can just skip over to the next stage. And there's so many parts of Monster Hunter World where like I saw these cool like grinding mechanics that were designed for endgame at its time that just became irrelevant because of later content that came out. But as far as I know, Monster Hunter Rise doesn't really have anything like that right now. And I wish it did, because I'm one of the early players in Rise. So I'm like, oh, I could finally take advantage of these grind mechanics to really have fun I'm not even in endgame Rise, so maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. All I'm saying is I hope I can experience these endgame grind mechanics at the time that they were intended to be released. And maybe that's what Safi is. Like I said, I have to look up guides to learn what I'm doing. So now my next goals are either grind out Safi to get a cooler switch axe, assuming the guides I find guide me to build one, or unlock master rank. So now I need to unlock my guiding lands are locked at level 5. I'm only master rank 60, 9 more levels, and it will unlock level 6, I think. And then I have to keep bumping up my master rank to get my guiding lands to level 7. And I think that's when I've unlocked all the monsters. And then master rank 100 unlocks more monsters. And then I can like scratch off the last things. So now you're also going to notice in my streams, I'm going to stop counting my feints and all that. We're going to keep the cringe counter. That's a Hey Jay feature now to this community. We're keeping the cringe counter, but I'm going to change everything on Monster Hunter World to be counting down how many things I have left. Oh, I almost forgot. On the multiplayer stream, I discovered the Linian Researcher. Like I revisited and realized I never submitted my photos, and I learned that there's like 3 ranks for photos. So I'm just like, oh man, this is a whole other little game that I can play and try out. So I'm going to count down how many photos are left, how many items are left, how many achievements are left, how many crowns are left. And I can't promise you, I am not pledging this, I can't promise you I'm going to get all those counters down to 0, but I think it's going to be cool to know how many things are left in this game for me to complete. And we're just going to count them down and see how close I get before another shiny pulls my attention. So that's it for this week. I'm not sure if we're going to have another world journal next week. All depends on progress. But until next time, keep it classy.